Yesterday we talked about the pituitary gland and we talked about the pancreas. The pituitary gland controls lots of the other glands. It produces growth hormone that allows you to grow taller. The pancreas produces insulin to regulate our blood sugar. We talked about a few more glands. There are others that we're not really getting to in our unit. We're sort of going through the basics, but there are some others. So one of these is the adrenal glands. Have you ever heard of a hormone that looks similar to the adrenal gland, the word? Right? Adrenaline. Yeah, you've probably heard of adrenaline or an adrenaline rush. Comes from these adrenal glands. And the adrenal glands, the word itself, ad means near, renal means having to do with the kidneys. So they're near the kidneys. In fact, the adrenal glands are kind of on top of our kidneys. Kidneys are in our sort of abdomen towards the back of our body. And on top of each of our kidneys, it's like they're wearing a little hat. That little hat are the adrenal glands. And so these are endocrine glands. They produce a hormone. It's called adrenaline. And adrenaline is considered one of the stress hormones. So what do you know about adrenaline? I'm sure you've heard of it before. Tell me something you think about adrenaline. Margaret?
Sports.
What about it?
Like when you're doing stuff, you just
Okay, that maybe you could feel your adrenaline rushing in a heated sporting event. What else? What were you going to say, Maya?
Well, I once crashed my bike going down a hill, and I thought it was really fun, but it was like, it kind of happens when you do something really crazy.
Yeah, it's something you might feel a rush of adrenaline if you do something scary or exciting. Adrenaline is called the hormone that is responsible for the fight or flight response. So this flight or fight response is our body's adaptation to responding to something scary, basically. And so you go home after school, your brother got home before you, and they're hiding in the closet. You have no idea they're there. And you jump out as soon as you get home and really, really scare you. Right? You feel weird. Your stomach feels weird. Your heart is pounding. Okay? You feel very nervous. All of those things are the effects of adrenaline. That scare quickly cause your kidneys to release a burst of adrenaline into your bloodstream. And what adrenaline does is a whole bunch of things. It speeds up your heart. Okay? It reduces your feeling of pain. Okay? Makes you very alert and aware. And these are all things that would be good if you had to fight off a mountain lion. Okay, that's where this comes from evolutionarily. It's an adaptation to survival. Okay? If a mountain lion jumps out as you're walking through the woods, you have to either fight or you need to run away. Okay? And adrenaline gets you ready to do that. You know, sometimes you may hear of people having like amazing feats of strength in an emergency situation, or being able to do something even though they were injured. And some of that has to do with the effects of adrenaline, because it primes our body as a survival mechanism to escape or to fight off an enemy, and that's where it comes from. Now, nowadays, though, we don't generally run into many mountain lions around town, but often people do things that give them that feeling, whether it's go bungee jumping or riding your bike down a crazy hill or taking some insane jump on your snowboard. Things like that sort of get that going a little bit in our bodies, and it's exciting and it's fun because we know we're not really in danger of being eaten by a mountain lion. So we sort of use those things as we do these exciting things. All right, so this is a feedback system, so you can imagine mountain lion jumps out at you, your adrenaline level goes through the roof, you run away quickly, finally you escape this mountain lion, and then once you sense that the danger's over, the adrenal glands stop producing adrenaline, and things come back to normal. So again, it's this feedback. Another endocrine gland is called the thyroid gland. This is here in your neck. It's so you have your trachea, your windpipe, okay, that goes down the front of your neck, and your thyroid gland is like a little bow tie. It's shaped like a little bow tie, right where you might wear a bow tie, sort of. And that's your thyroid gland, and the thyroid gland produces hormones called thyroxine, and there's others. And your thyroid gland helps to determine how your body uses energy, your metabolism. Have you ever heard some people say they have a very high metabolism, or they have a slow metabolism? Part of that may have to do with the thyroid gland. Some people's thyroid gland gives them a high metabolism. They use energy very quickly. Others have a slower metabolism. There are also diseases of the thyroid gland that people are often affected by. An underactive thyroid gland or an overactive thyroid gland. These are also common. And a person may have to have medication. Some people have surgery on their thyroid gland. A person with an overactive thyroid gland has they have a very high metabolism. They sometimes can't keep on weight, and they're too thin. They may not have a lot of energy. A person with an underactive thyroid gland may have the opposite sort of symptoms, whereas they put on weight very easily, even if they're not eating a lot. Their metabolism is very slow. So there's lots of different disorders that might affect the thyroid gland. There's medicines a person could take to help with their thyroid gland and help improve that. Meg?
My mom, I don't know what she had, but she probably had had another accident. So she probably had had another thyroid gland. She had to
Her thyroid gland removed? Yeah.
she has to do the medications every day to do the job.
Yeah.
The thyroid did.
Yeah, so you might take like artificial thyroxine, the hormone normally your thyroid gland would produce, that you may take medication that sort of replicates the same functions like Maggie said. Okay, our last endocrine organs are kind of a double function. So we're going to talk about them again when we get to the reproductive system, but we'll also talk about it now because they also act as endocrine glands as well. And so these are, the general term are gonads, and that applies to both male or female. And the gonads in the male are the testes, in the female they are the ovaries. And so these are endocrine organs as well. So they produce certain hormones that are important for a person's reproductive system and maturity. So we'll talk about the reproductive function of ovaries and testes at the end of this unit. Reproductive, I think, is the last unit that we cover. But for now, we'll talk about what they do in terms of the endocrine system. So in males have two testes, and their job in terms of the endocrine system is to release a hormone called testosterone. Probably heard of testosterone. So it's called the male sex hormone. The testes also, their reproductive function is to make sperm cells for reproduction. And what testosterone does in the body is it produces what we call secondary male sex characteristics. So obviously there's difference in anatomy between males and females, but there are also then other differences. These are what we call the secondary sex characteristics. So if you think of like some typically male characteristics, a deeper voice, okay? more body hair. These are some of the secondary male sex characteristics. And they're produced by testosterone in the body. Muscle tone is partially influenced by testosterone. Generally, men have higher percentage of their body as muscle than women. And that's because they have much more testosterone. But an interesting fact is that females have testosterone as well. So even females do have testosterone in their body. Even though they don't have testes, they do, other parts of their body make testosterone, and they need those lower levels. Males, as they go through puberty and as their testosterone levels increase, that provides for the development of these secondary sex characteristics like we just talked about. We also know, since testosterone is partially responsible for muscle growth, what is it sometimes used as or used for? Okay?
Steroids?
Yeah, steroids. When you hear about athletes, people taking steroids, what they're usually talking about is taking testosterone or some testosterone-like chemical, because the more testosterone in a person's body, the more muscle mass that they can develop. So sometimes people artificially give themselves testosterone to build more muscle mass. Now, because testosterone affects lots of different parts of our body, it can have damaging effects on lots of other body systems. And that's why it's unhealthy and that's why it's illegal, but people do still do it. All right, then, so in the female, the equivalent to testes in the female are the ovaries. Okay? And again, females have 2 ovaries. Females have 2 ovaries. And they release the female sex hormone. Female sex hormone is estrogen. Just as in the male, in the female, estrogen causes the development of female secondary sex characteristics. The other job of the ovaries, reproductively, is to produce egg cells. Oh, sorry. Come back. And so those secondary female sex characteristics, things like changes in the pelvis, breast development, the onset of the menstrual cycle, those are female secondary sex characteristics. And just as females have some testosterone, males also have some estrogen in their body. All right, so those are, any questions? Those are, that's the extent of we're going to go with the endocrine organs. We're not going to go into any other glands. Talk more about the lymphatic system another time. I have a couple of videos, a couple of things I want to show you.